It always begins in silence. The morning feels ordinary, the coffee warm in your hands, the air still heavy with sleep. And then it comes. The message, the words, the look. It hits like a splash of ice water across your face. A sudden accusation, a subtle twist of sarcasm, a dismissal so sharp it punctures your calm. In seconds, your peace of mind feels invaded. This is the power of a toxic woman. Not grand battles, but small cuts, invisible daggers hidden in everyday moments. And too often, men hand her the blade without realizing it. Marcus Aurelius lived surrounded by schemers, whisperers, manipulators in his court. Yet he warned us in his meditations that the true enemy is not the other person's cruelty, but our own surrender to it. You have power over your mind, he wrote, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Those words were not abstract philosophy, they were survival instructions. The Emperor of Rome faced enemies on battlefields, but the deeper war was always within, and so it is with you. When a toxic woman strikes, her goal is simple: reaction. She feeds off your anger, your jealousy, your confusion. If she can move you like a puppet, she wins. But here lies your first lesson: self-awareness. Awareness of your own impulses, of your triggers, of your weak spots. Picture a swordsman in training. The novice lunges wildly, always off balance, always vulnerable. But the master does not rush. He sidesteps. He observes. He refuses to fight on someone else's terms. That is how you must be. Her barbs are meant to pierce you, but when you see them for what they are, you don't absorb them. You let them fall at your feet. This is not indifference, it is sovereignty. And yet, even when you see clearly, the memories of her actions cling to you like smoke. This is where Marcus Aurelius gives us the second weapon: forgiveness, joined with memory. Forgiveness is not weakness. Forgiveness is fuel. It cuts the cord that binds you to her poison. It frees you from carrying her venom in your bloodstream. But forgiveness without memory is blindness. You must forgive to move forward, but remember to protect yourself. Her patterns reveal who she is. Your memory keeps you from circling back into the same traps. Like a captain charting the stars, you learn which constellations guide you and which black holes to avoid. Forgiveness keeps your soul light. Memory keeps your judgment sharp. Together they form the compass by which you escape her gravity. Already you sense the difference. You are no longer merely enduring, you are beginning to command. No longer lost in her storm, you are learning to walk above the clouds. And in this rise, you touch the spirit of Stoicism itself, not to conquer others, but to remain unconquered by them. This is the beginning. This is how a man reclaims his peace. It is a strange truth that the greatest storms often rise not from thunder in the skies, but from whispers in your own home. A toxic woman can unsettle your very sense of direction, turning certainty into fog. And yet, Marcus Aurelius reminds us, the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. Her negativity, her games, her constant draining presence, these are not just obstacles. They are weights placed in your hands to test your strength. You do not crumble under them. You lift, you grow, you learn to breathe where others suffocate. This is where your third lesson emerges: emotional stability. When the toxic woman screams, sulks, or retreats into silence designed to punish, you must become the mountain unmoved by the storm. A mountain does not apologize to the wind for standing tall. A mountain does not bend itself to please the lightning. It simply endures. And in enduring, it proves itself eternal. Do not mistake this stability for coldness. It is not that you feel nothing. It is that you do not allow her turbulence to define your inner weather. She may rage, she may manipulate, but you remain in the eye of the hurricane, calm, centered, deliberate. That is where your true power lies. But calm without boundaries is surrender dressed in silence. And so the fourth lesson presents itself: boundaries carved with precision. Imagine your life as a canvas, each interaction a brushstroke. Some strokes bring color, light, and form. Others are smears of black paint, heavy and intrusive, distorting your masterpiece. Without boundaries, you allow anyone to dip their brush into your canvas. But Marcus would say, waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one. And a good man respects himself enough to guard his own creation. Boundaries are not walls of arrogance. They are lines of clarity. They say, "Here is where my peace ends and your chaos cannot enter." You do not need to shout it. You do not need to explain it endlessly. The boundary itself is your declaration, and when you enforce it with calm steadiness, you teach her, and more importantly yourself, that your life is not open ground for manipulation. Do not be fooled. She will test these lines. She will prod, she will push, she will disguise her trespass as love or jest. But the strength of a man is measured not in how loudly he defends his borders, but in how consistently he holds them. Each time you honor your boundary, you reinforce the fortress within. You remind yourself that you are not at the mercy of her moods, her whims, or her anger. You remind yourself that your soul is your own kingdom, and no one enters without your command. This is what Marcus Aurelius understood, that true kingship is not in commanding legions, but in mastering oneself. And in the battle against toxicity, that mastery is your shield and your sword. There comes a moment when you realize that not every battle with a toxic woman is fought with words. Some are fought with the invisible forces of energy, the subtle currents that rise and fall in every room she enters. Have you ever noticed how the atmosphere shifts when she walks in? The tension, the unease, the way your spirit feels drained even before she speaks? This is not imagination. This is energy at work. And here lies your fifth lesson: intelligence over energy. Your energy is not infinite. It is a resource as precious as water in the desert. Every time you engage with her drama, you hand her a drink from your well. Every time you argue, defend, or explain, you deplete yourself further. A toxic woman thrives on this exchange because your exhaustion is her nourishment. But Marcus Aurelius teaches us that we must be like the rock against which the waves break, yet it stands firm, and the raging of the sea falls still around it. Protecting your energy is not avoidance, it is preservation. It is learning when to engage and when to let her waves crash harmlessly against your silence. And yet, energy preserved must be directed. That is why the sixth lesson is focus on your goals. Nothing disarms toxicity more effectively than a man who is consumed by his mission. When you are building, when you are striving towards something greater, her attempts to sabotage you become background noise. A man with no vision is easily entangled in a toxic woman's traps because he has nothing else to anchor him. But a man who has goals, who is shaping his destiny, who wakes with purpose, he cannot be easily swayed. Like Marcus wrote, a man's worth is no greater than the worth of his ambitions. Picture yourself as an archer. Your goal is the target before you. Her distractions are the gusts of wind, the whispers trying to shake your hand. But you adjust, you steady yourself, and you release the arrow. You do not waste your strength firing arrows into the darkness of her moods. You save them for what matters. And with each shot aimed at your purpose, you move further away from her chaos and closer to the life you are meant to build. The truth is this: a toxic woman cannot truly compete with a man driven by vision. She may tug at his emotions, she may bait him into skirmishes, but he does not abandon his campaign for trivial battles. He remains fixed on his empire, not her storms. And that is how you starve her of power, by refusing to abandon your path for her chaos. But even the strongest man cannot walk through life alone, and this leads us to the seventh truth: seeking support. Too many men fall into the trap of isolation, believing that asking for guidance makes them weak. Yet Marcus Aurelius himself surrounded his reign with philosophers, generals, and counselors, not because he lacked strength, but because he knew wisdom grows in dialogue. When you face the relentless pressure of a toxic woman, sometimes your greatest act of stoicism is to step outside the battlefield and confide in those who remind you of your worth. It could be a trusted friend, a mentor, or a brother who has weathered the same storms. Their words become torches in the dark, lighting paths you could not see alone. And in that light, the toxic games lose their power, for now you stand not as a single warrior, but as part of a greater legion of strength. Yet even when supported, the greatest war remains inside your own head. A toxic woman plants seeds not only in your days, but in your self-talk. You hear her voice echoing in your mind long after she has left the room, criticizing, belittling, making you doubt yourself. This is why the eighth truth is mastering the garden of your thoughts. Marcus warned us that the soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. If you allow her poison to stain your inner dialogue, you will wear her lies like armor that drags you down. But if you guard your mind, If you plant seeds of strength and resilience, then her words cannot take root. Each time you feel her criticism echo, replace it with a question. What does this teach me about myself? How can I rise above it? This shift turns her venom into your medicine. You become not a man defined by her accusations, but a man refined by the trials she brings. Imagine her words as arrows, sharp and fast. If your self-worth is fragile, those arrows sink deep, and you bleed from wounds unseen. But if your self-talk is strong, those arrows strike an impenetrable shield. They fall harmlessly at your feet. She may still shoot, but you no longer bleed. This does not mean you are unaffected. It means you are undefeated. And in that undefeated spirit, you carry the very essence of Stoicism, that what is outside of you cannot master what is within, unless you grant it permission. So let her storms rage, let her arrows fly. You have the fortress of your mind, and within those walls, her voice becomes nothing more than distant thunder. The ninth truth unfolds in the heat of conflict, when a toxic woman attempts to pull you into her web of arguments, accusations, and emotional traps. Most men fall here, lured into endless explanations, defending themselves against charges that were never meant to be fair. But Marcus Aurelius reminds us, if you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it. And this you have the power to revoke at any moment. The Stoic path is solution over reaction. When she seeks to escalate, you choose not to meet her in chaos, but to think 3 steps ahead, like a chess master who sees the board beyond the immediate move. Instead of reacting to her manipulations, you pause. You ask questions. You respond with clarity instead of emotion. And in that pause, you transform her chaos into your discipline. This is not submission. It is strategy. You refuse to waste your strength in battles where victory yields no reward. But strategy alone is not enough, because she will tempt you into debates that cannot be won. That is why the 10th truth is avoiding unnecessary arguments altogether. Not every provocation deserves an answer. Not every slight deserves your energy. Sometimes the greatest act of power is silence. A toxic woman thrives when you are trapped in her labyrinth, running in circles to prove your innocence, your loyalty, your worth. But silence cuts the strings of her puppet show. Refusing to argue is not weakness, it is wisdom. Like Marcus wrote, the best revenge is not to be like your enemy. When she throws fire, you do not meet it with gasoline. You let it burn out on its own. Your restraint exposes her fury for what it is, baseless, unworthy, irrelevant. And yet, avoiding argument does not mean avoiding truth. It means choosing carefully where you invest your voice. Some battles matter, most do not. The toxic woman wants you to fight them all because exhaustion is her victory. But you must decide with stoic precision which battles align with your values and which are traps disguised as duty. When you walk away from the traps, you are not fleeing, you are advancing, saving your energy for the building of your life, your mission, your empire. Silence, chosen with strength, becomes the loudest answer you will ever give. And here we arrive at the last stretch of this journey, where the truths converge into something larger than mere tactics. For the greatest danger of a toxic woman is not her words, nor her moods, nor even her betrayals. It is the way she tempts you to abandon yourself, to forget who you are, to trade your peace for her storms. Marcus Aurelius, sitting alone in his tent on the frontier, surrounded by enemies both within and without, wrote words meant to echo across centuries. The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. He did not say it depends on the approval of others. He did not say it depends on winning every quarrel. He reminded us that the true empire is always within. And so the 11th lesson emerges, one often overlooked but vital: detection of false cordiality. There is perhaps no mask more dangerous than the smile of a toxic woman pretending peace, the subtle flattery that hides the knife, the soft words that conceal manipulation. To master this requires a deeper vision, not of her lips, but of her consistency. Watch her actions, not her charm. Does her kindness vanish when no one is watching? Does her laughter ring hollow when tested by truth? Marcus urged us to penetrate inside and see what sort of people they are, not to hate them, but to free ourselves from illusion. For every false smile you detect is a chain broken. Every insincere gesture recognized is one less trap waiting for you. And now, finally, the 12th truth: to walk away when peace demands it, The Stoics never preached martyrdom in the face of poison. They preached alignment with nature, with reason, with dignity. Some women cannot be reasoned with, cannot be changed, cannot be appeased. To cling to them is to drown with them. To let go is to breathe again. Walking away is not failure. It is the ultimate proof of your self-command. You are saying, my life is too brief, my purpose too sacred, to waste in the orbit of your chaos. That decision, more than any sharp retort or clever defense, is the true liberation. And so, the 10 ways unfold like stepping stones: self-awareness, forgiveness with memory, emotional stability, boundaries, energy intelligence, focus on your goals, support, mastery of self-talk, solution over reaction, avoidance of empty arguments, then sharpened further by discernment of false cordiality and crowned with the courage to walk away. Together they form a philosophy not merely for surviving toxic women, but for becoming untouchable in spirit. Marcus Aurelius did not teach us to dominate others. He taught us to master ourselves, and in that mastery, no toxic force can hold dominion over you. So my friend, the question now returns to you. Will you continue allowing chaos to dictate your mind? Or will you rise, stoic in presence, sovereign in thought, commander of your own peace? Remember, the storms outside will never end, but the fortress within can always remain unshaken. If this message has resonated with you, if you have felt the strength of Marcus Aurelius echo through these words, then take action. Like this video, share it with a man who needs it, and subscribe to this channel so the brotherhood of Stoic men continues to grow. And if you wish to go deeper, to strengthen this philosophy until it becomes second nature, support the channel through the link in the description. Every action you take builds this movement. Every voice added makes it stronger. Stand firm, stand clear, stand free. That is how a man deals with toxic women. That is how he lives as Marcus Aurelius would demand, untouched, unbroken, and unafraid. Like, share, subscribe, and support the channel through the link in description.